Welcome to the Knighthood Podcast, a comprehensive weekly analysis of the Newcastle Knights 2024 NRL season, brought to you by Michael and James. So fire up and let's go. Hey James, how's things, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Interesting starts to the night. We had a couple of technical difficulties, but we got there in the end, which is
good. All sorted out. Yeah, just a couple of audio issues, but we're not too late. I think we'll get a pass still. That's only 5 minutes. Yeah. All good.
That's all good. The show must go on. Good.
The show must go on. Okay. So yeah, here we are. We're now moving into round 15. We just got beat by the Storm in Melbourne, lost by 8 points. What were your initial thoughts and reactions to that?
To be honest, I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it actually was. I thought they put in a really great effort. The first half couldn't have asked for much more apart from that final few minutes where they leaked those 2 tries, which really cost us. Came back out in the second half, scored and got back into the game. But then again, we sort of I was checking the stats and we were pretty damn close with them stats wise. Like we held our own. I think there was a bit of we just sort of missed a few tackles on the line and stuff like that. Wishart's tries and Jerome Hughes and that. So look, the boys played well. I'm so glad they put in a good performance compared to the previous week.
Yeah, and look, we're going to do a full review of the match and go into some details. And I've definitely got some thoughts in regards to some key things that happened in the match, and also some, at the end of the day, we're here to judge the performance of the Knights over the 2024 season. And at the moment, we're not aiming up. We're 13th on the ladder. And I saw a lot of positive comments about the Knights' effort and, how we actually aimed up. But at the end of the day, we lost. And at the end of the day, we're sitting 13th on the ladder, on the adjusted ladder. So it's the season's not going well, really. It's a close season, and if we had 2 more wins, and we'll have a look at the ladder later on in the review, but we could be sitting, if we won in the last 2 matches, we would have been sitting on outright 4th right now. So it's a close season, and I think there's just been too many things that are too many close losses, too many games that we probably could have won and we didn't. And this is probably going to tell a story at the end of the season. And I don't like that story. I guess we started this podcast to, we're pretty optimistic about where the club was heading and where the team and the squad was heading. And it was an improved squad on last year. And I just don't think we've met expectations. And I'm actually feeling, a bit, I guess I can get a bit emotional about the team because at the end of the day, I just don't think we've aimed up this year, and it's quite disappointing. And as good as the effort was against the Storm, we're still lost, and we're sitting 13th on the ladder. So look, let's get into it. We're going to go into some full details here, and here we are for the round 14 review. That'll be the first thing on the agenda tonight. We'll run through our 3-2-1 update for the season on the players. And then there's a couple of talking points that I want to quickly bring up in regards to some news that's been floating around the Knights. Round 14 NRL adjusted ladder. We'll run through that. Have a look at the season results so far, where we stand in terms of performance as a club and as a team. Then we'll have a look at the run home section where we're coming to the end of that sort of 3 matches within the 2 buys. And so far we've lost 2 and we haven't won a match. So yeah, pretty disappointing. But we still have an opportunity, there, but we'll get into that in more detail. And then in the second half of the show, we'll run through injuries and suspensions. Which has been a positive for the year, really. I think overall we've had a pretty fit squad for most of the year, and the guys that have come in have filled in. So that's definitely a positive for the season. If we had more injuries, O'Brien could be looking at getting sacked because we'll go into it when I look at the ladder because I've got some points to illustrate there. So Then we've got the team list review for this week, and interestingly, we can't actually tell you who the ref is. I've been searching around on the internet. I can't find who the ref is for any of the matches. So I think that's quite interesting, especially after the performance of the ref on Sunday. Look, then we'll get into our final analysis, some key points that we've done some research on, and we'll obviously following the same process week in, week out. And then we'll get through into our Top Sport season betting review, which we're doing well. We managed to land a bet on the weekend, and that continues our good run of form with being able to predict outcomes, and it all comes from this process that we go through week in, week out. We're putting in the time and the effort, and we're getting the results of the betting. And then we'll, go over our round 15 tips and see if you're going to fire up this week and put a bet. So we went down by 8 points to the Storm. It was 36 to the Storm versus the Knights 28. I know that these are a little bit hard for you to read, James, so I'll read off the hymn sheet here. So we've got the possession. It says here that it was 50% each. The territory was definitely well in the Storm's favour at 59% to 41%. So even though possession was even, we definitely didn't manage the territory in that match. So what that says is that Melbourne controlled the match better than what we did. In terms of all run meters, the Storm ran 1,500, we ran 1,350 approximately. Other stats that jump out here, tackle bursts were won by Melbourne 51 to 34. Post contact meters was even. Storm had 3 more offloads. And without going into the full detail, but one of their tries in the first half come off that late offload. And that's what I was talking about in last week's podcast. Is I hope that we can try and introduce this late offload into our game, especially looks like inside that 20-meter zone. That's where Melbourne were doing most of their offloads. I don't know if you noticed that, James, but they scored off, was it Solomona? He offloaded, and then that was a pass to, I think it was Hughes, and he scored under the sticks.
Yeah, I think it was the last tackle as well.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it's a tactic, and it works pretty effectively when it's executed right. So, we did get a try from KPP offload, which was great early in the second half. Hopefully we see more of that, and hopefully O'Brien's noticing that late offload is working for other teams. Surely he does. Now, line breaks was slightly in Melbourne's favour at 7-5. Completion rate, we completed 5 less sets compared to Melbourne, so that does go to show you that they did control the game a little bit better than what we did. And everything else there, nothing else worth commenting on. So do you have any thoughts on any of those things there, James?
Well, actually, those stats sort of looked a bit different to the ones that I was looking at. I'm not sure. Hopefully I wasn't looking at the wrong ones, but
no,
anyway.
They are different, and this is coming from Fox. So the ones that we get from NRL.com will be slightly different.
Yeah.
But who's right? Who knows?
True.
So it's probably not a bad point to bring up. Can you see much discrepancy there?
Not a heap. I honestly, and going off what I was looking at prior to seeing this, I thought they held their own for a lot of it. It just seemed to be that they couldn't, within their own 20, when Melbourne were attacking, we sort of just got a bit, I don't want to say lazy, but they let in some tries that I felt were a bit, bit on the soft side.
Yeah.
So stats-wise,
the bottom line is that the Knights leaked 36 points. And whenever you go to Melbourne and leak 36 points, you're not going to come home with the chocolates.
No,
that's the bottom line, regardless of how good the effort was.
But isn't it strange that we can put on 28 points against the team on top of the ladder, but we can't score anything against the Dogs at home?
Well, that's the disappointing thing, mate. And that's why I'm not happy sitting here If you look at the big picture and the overall season and where we stand, that's the most disappointing thing, because it does come down to, I think, attitude and coaching performance, and that's unfortunately, they just haven't got it right. There's if they aimed up consistently, the biggest thing that's disappointing to me is the inconsistency of this team aiming up. They don't fire up every week. They're a kettle. The Knights are a kettle. So,
but also, they were ultra. I thought they were a lot more expansive on the weekend compared to the previous week, which is
they
strange.
Probably the most out of any week. So look, there's one thing that I will say is that the team seems to listen to the coaching and the tactics. I don't think when the Knights go out there and play boring footy, it's because the players want to play like that. I think it's because the coaches tell them to, and they do follow instruction.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of this comes down to the coaching staff. O'Brien doesn't look at ladders. We're sitting 13th right now. It's not good enough.
Yeah, fair call.
So, yeah. Anyway, inconsistent and disappointing, unfortunately. And why didn't we aim up against the Bulldogs and beat them at home when we clearly, could have done so? If we just played the same versus the Bulldogs, do you think we win this match?
Oh,
I think that's what you're getting at, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how you can not throw anything at a team at home. I know it was a bit wet, but I mean, wasn't perfect conditions in Melbourne either. So,
I just think that Bulldogs game, they went to play a simple game plan, and I think they got a bit sick of it. And when the going got tough, the tough got going, and that was the Bulldogs. And they just handled it better, and they had a bit of luck with some tries they scored, and and they just, like you said, keep getting worse. So, let's keep going over some of the stats from this match. Set restarts. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about this now. So, how at critical moments in the first half, the second part of the first half, there were a number of the game was being reffed really well. The ref stayed out of it, and even the commentators mentioned it after about 12 minutes. They said, this game's good. It's gone set for set. No one's made an error. Ref's not getting involved. And I thought, yeah, fuck, you're right. Like, this is great. We knew going into the match, Adam G, we had a bad record with Adam G. We had a winning rate of 31%, and the Storm had a winning rate of 67%.
Yep.
And I'm thinking after, 15 minutes that this is not going to affect us, the ref. But then there was a string of set restarts that went against Newcastle from nowhere, just from nowhere. And now maybe we were responsible for them, and maybe we weren't. And I'm saying we probably I don't see how we had 5-0 overall in this match. And I think definitely in that first half, it really kept Melbourne in the match, and to the point that it kept them in the match enough to stay in it, and then, fluke that try at the end and take a lead at halftime. And so I think at key moments, if you want to call it subtly, the ref had an influence on the game. And this is the thing I hated most about the NRL. It all comes down to the way the ref is being and how consistent they're reffing the match. And, it's lottery in the bunker sometimes. Even our first try. What do you think that was a try that was disallowed when we basically we knocked it back? It's like, they said that it came off the arm of a Storm player, and the commentators are even saying, well, we can't see it touching the arm of the Storm player, so how's it a knock on? Because he had it in one arm, and then he did lose control, but I think it went backwards.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a clear try, but what I am saying is it didn't touch a Storm arm.
Yeah, initially when I first saw it, I thought, it looked a bit dodgy. But the more I actually, when they were replaying, I was like, it looks,
might be all right. Yeah.
But so, I mean, AOB totally in the press conference seemed to think that the Knights were sort of being held to a different standard than the Melbourne Storm. That's for sure.
Yep. And I can't. I mean, the stats tell you there, and I'm not going to get too emotional about it, but I think because it's pretty black and white, we for 60 minutes of the match we were really up against the ref. So look, defensively, keep going through these stats. We made more tackles, slightly more missed tackles there, 51 to 34, but we made more tackles as well. I think overall, letting in 36 points, you can't expect to go to Melbourne and win a match letting in 36 points. You can take off one of their tries because it was a blatant forward pass. Well, actually, two forward passes.
Yeah.
So then we got our captain's challenge wrong again. Two incorrect challenges, and Melbourne got theirs right. Negative play, we penalties conceded was pretty even. It was just those set restarts, and they're the hardest ones to watch when you're a fan, because a lot of the time you don't even know what it's for. It's like
they're usually late in the tackle count as well.
Yeah.
They're always late, and
when they do it, they go on a run like they do, 2 or 3 in a period, and it's just it's hard to watch. It really is hard to. And look, to the Knights' credit, they defended it for a while, but I mean, ultimately that stacks up. It gives them more possession, and it does stack up in influence. Even if you defend it, it does add up and take a toll. So.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's what happened at the end. Like the Knights, they just kind of lapsed in concentration, and they got their pants pulled down at the end there, that first half, which was disappointing. Kicking, we pretty similar there to the Storm, but on the numbers there, I'd say that we made similar kicking meters, but I really thought Cogger's long kicking game was really ineffective. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, nothing really stood out kicking-wise for me in this game, like too much. I mean, Hastings seemed to be handling the more as he does, putting him in the air and stuff. But yeah, to be honest, I didn't really see much out of Cogger's kicking game, to be honest.
Yeah, well, especially in the second half, I noticed it a lot. We were getting out-kicked in terms of where we were giving them the ball, and it's just like this. They're just basic kick straight, or they're always down the throat. It's like he kicks them, as a target.
Yeah.
There's no variety. It's just it's very, and maybe that's because they just want to have consistency in their kick chase. I'm guessing that's what it is, but it's not a good watch, and it's not a style of footy that I think we were taught to play. When we were growing up, you kind of kick for space, chase the ball.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of been a modern thing that comes in, and it's definitely been a ploy for O'Brien it's a part of his coaching style. And I've been highly critical of it over the.
It's only worked once really effectively, and that was against the Dragons in the wet. I think it's only worked once all season.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, look, I to a certain extent I am. Like I love it when they get it right, and you sort of the ball catcher takes the ball and they get smashed. I love it. Because there's players there straight away, but there's no plan B with this side. Like it's like if you're struggling, right? Okay, so what? Let's be constructive here. Okay, so we're saying, Cogger, you're kicking games average when it's not working. You're not getting the territory. You're not getting it deep enough. So as a kicker, what would you do to add some variety? Okay, the first thing I would say to my hooker is mix it up and take a kick from hooker, right? Do we ever see kicks from the hooker? No, we don't. We barely ever see a kick come from our hooker. It's a no-brainer. Like if you're in a compromised situation where the kicks are not working, they're ineffective, get the hooker to kick it. Or why don't they? I think we saw it in the Women's State of Origin. They did like instead of kicking it up in the air, it was a funny kick, but they kicked it long, but grubbered it. It's a little bit unorthodox, and I'm not saying you do that every kick, but
it's something different.
You break the pattern. They seem to get into this pattern and they stick to it, which is sometimes you need to do the basics in footy. But if you're not getting territory, you got to do something to mix it up. And I think mainly the hooker, but even mix it up, and even if it goes like it doesn't necessarily make the distance. rubber it out and put it at 30 out in touch or something, and just to mix it up, because then maybe that puts a doubt in the fullback and wingers' minds on the next kick. Just mix it up. And I don't know, maybe that gets their defensive line reset too. So there's other options there, especially the hooker. But look, we're not the coaches, but that's how I see it. I think maybe the playmakers, maybe they follow the coach's plans too much. Maybe it's too structured.
I think it is, and I think that you think of if you're the opposition, you want them to be predictable. You want them to know everything that's happening, like as far as what's coming. Yeah. If I'm the opposition, you're worried about what you don't know is coming. The chip and chase, the little grubber through, and we just never do that. We're always very predictable in our end of sets.
Yep. And you do it at the right times. Like, look, Melbourne did on the last set of the first half, and they scored a try from it. So, Melbourne seem to have the structure, but they also have the ad lib. I think the Melbourne game plan at the end of the day was a bit more effective than ours. And you could probably say some of our tries were. I wouldn't say definitely one of our tries was a bit lucky when Melbourne kind of did that funny pass inside their half and Hastings scooped it up and gave it to Lucas. But, well done to us for capitalizing on it. But still it was, lucky. I don't know. Yeah, it was a lucky one. Look, overall, the rest of the stats here, there's nothing else that really, attacking kicks, there's a stat here. 13-7 for the Storm. So, that's something there. Maybe that tells a bit of a picture about what we're just talking about there, is that we're not sort of putting enough pressure on our opposition with our kicking. We did get 3 forced dropouts, which was good. And I think maybe the Storm got the ball back once. But, overall, we definitely need a bit more variety with our kicking game. And I would definitely like to see the hooker, whoever it is, Brayley or Crossland. Okay, well, these are the player stats, James. We'll get to our 3-2-1s, but was there anything there that stood out to you in the player stats?
Not heaps. Again, I thought the forwards were still a bit low when it came to making meters.
Well, KPP only ran 56 here.
And that hasn't been like him, to be honest. Yeah, it is pretty low for him.
Adam Elliott, the Kettle ran 29 meters, apparently.
What's he doing there? He
was I don't know. I'm a bit sus on these stats. If we go to NRL, let's just cross-reference it quickly. So if we go to that's spot on. Same. Actually, not the same. It's saying 58 meters here for Adam Elliott as opposed to 29.
He'd be blowing up deluxe about those Fox stats, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but we don't know which ones are accurate, do we? So it's we don't know. It says here Dylan Lucas ran 198, and on Foxtel he ran
180. Is it?
180. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Leo Thompson 112. So 111 there. Jacobs of 139 versus 125. So that's pretty close. Marju 125. What did he run there?
115.
115. Yeah. Gay guy 246 versus 213
on here. Yeah.
So there's obviously 155 for Fletcher Sharp. 130 on Fox. So look, there's no consistency there. Some are up, some are down. It's interpretation of whoever's putting these numbers in and adding up the stats. So I don't know. Maybe they've got an AI tool that doesn't now. They probably will be in the future. But I'm guessing it's a normal person that does the stats. But, we can only work with the numbers we've got in front of us. They're pretty reliable sources. NRL.com and foxsports.com. and probably the two authorities. Obviously, the television broadcast with their Fox and Channel 9. I don't know if they come out with any stats, but I wouldn't rely on those. Anyway, so overall, the Knights as a team aimed up. We'll get to our 3-2-1s pretty shortly. There's nothing else there that stands out. But yeah, just for the viewers out there, keep in mind that if you're looking at stats yourself, there is going to be a discrepancy between NRL.com and foxsports.com. Let's get to the press conference notes. So yeah, you don't need to watch the press conference, and if you tune into the Knighthood podcast every Tuesday at 7 p.m. O'Brien basically said that he was never content on losing. Wasn't obviously happy to lose, but did say it was a marked improvement on last week. Before we go any further into his notes, I'm gonna, this is the kind of bullshit that I just don't want to be hearing this. I think our team is better. I think our squad is better, and I think we're underperforming in terms of wins on the ladder. And this is the kind of stuff that I just don't want to hear. I just don't want to hear, we improved on last week and we tried. Fuck that, man. I'm over it. And I'm sure most Newcastle Knights fans are. And it's not good enough to go to Melbourne and lose by 8 points. That was a winnable match. And at the end of the day, we fell short. And we'll get into our thoughts on why we fell short coming up. But yeah, anyway, I'm just getting sick of it. I just, it's just, it comes down to standards. He talks about standards of press conferences of referees. Well, guess what? There's standards on this club and there's standards on this team and squad. And at this stage of the season, we're not meeting those standards. And I'm not going to be happy going down to Melbourne and losing regardless of the effort. Although we did know it was going to be a hard trip there. And I don't think the ref helped us one little bit. So they had kind of 14 players for 60 minutes. Which is disappointing because the second time it's happened this year happened to us against the Roosters. And that was definitely a match we could have won if the decisions were made a bit differently. So I think there was a forward pass in that game too, wasn't there? The Roosters won. Anyway, he said that we threw a lot more at them in attack. Then, okay, fair enough. First question that we've already raised tonight is, why the fuck didn't you do it last week when you had the Bulldogs at home coming off a bye? It just seems like they're going to, it's like they've got a thing on their back and you've got to wind it up for it to, get
But I think you made a good point earlier, though, is that maybe the boys are just so hell-bent on, taking the coach's direction, and playing the game plan to a T. And,
I think they are.
So for better or worse, that falls back on O'Brien, doesn't it, really?
It does.
So it's a tactical blunder on his part.
Well, the way that it falls on O'Brien is it's an attitude thing. I think they go in. I think they also went into that game a bit complacent. So if you combine the complacency with the tactics, that gives you a result, right? So both of those things are influenced by a coach and the coaching staff. So the coaching staff, they should be doing everything they can every week to avoid any attitude issues. They should see that coming, and they should be planning accordingly around that. And then obviously the tactics just didn't work. We go back to that Bulldogs game. If the tactics were look, it was a bit wet, but I just think it was they got sick of playing that style of footy, and they just thought that they were going to win. And when things didn't go their way, it didn't work. So that's, at the end of the day, it's an attitude thing. It's a game plan thing, and that comes back down to the coaches to manage the team. Because ultimately, the thing that I've realised, we have the talent in this team, right? We have the talent in the team, and it does come down to attitude and coaching, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think, look, obviously the attitude's a huge thing. You've got to be spot on and the NRL's hard. It's hard to be up. Well, it's not hard. Well, it is
it's
hard to be up,
but that's their job.
but you've got
Everyone's got a hard job,
it.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, AOB's made some pretty, I think, telling errors this year when it comes to either tactics or just poor decisions. I thought the opening, we've spoken about it before against the Raiders, where they were just completely, that was a wrong game plan.
Well, let's get into that because every week we do this and we go over the season performance. So we'll have a bit of a closer look at that. Again, and we'll sort of with the evidence that we've got, we'll basically justify why we're making these calls. We're not just pulling stuff out of the Knights podcast caps. This is all coming from us, getting balls deep into the season. We've got the big balls behind us. We're all in on this season. We're putting in about 10 hours a week to make this thing, and to watch the matches and to do all the preparation and whatever. So it does take a lot, and then you add the betting stuff into that as well, and it takes a bit of energy. And for the good thing for us, because we've got a 17% return on investment this year. It's good. It's a good return on the time and the money that you risk. But anyway, it's just it's frustrating as a passionate supporter of the club to just see them fall short. It's disappointing. Anyway, so look, let's finish off the press conference notes. He said that he was proud of their fighting spirit. Well, let's give him a clap for that. I mean, at the end of the day, does that really matter?
Did they train well though? That's the main thing.
They trained amazing this week. Best performance of the year in the training paddock.
That's all I care about.
Yeah, look, the refereeing was harsh. He did comment on that, and I've got no issue at all. That is definitely not an excuse. It's a fact. This is going to go down and be marked on my sheet as a match that was affected by the referee. I actually think we did enough to win this match. As you referred to before, the stats are pretty close. Ultimately, Melbourne's game plan was a little bit better and they executed it a little bit better. But I just think on pure effort alone and some of the tries that we scored, and Melbourne weren't 100%, I think this was a highly winnable match. And we probably would have won it if we had a different ref. Frizzell, his comments were the injury that he had was a knee clutch, so he'll probably be in some pain this week, but he'll play. He'll be all good. He said they did well to fight back. And I agree with that. They, especially towards the end of the second half when Melbourne were going to run away with it, the Knights definitely aimed up and did great to get back into the match. And the fighting spirit is part of the Knights' DNA. So I don't want to be, mocking the club spirit, because that's what the culture's all about. The Newcastle style of footy and fighting tough and never giving in. And even Bellamy said that in the press conference. He said that we're a team that doesn't give in. But I think he was saying that more to back O'Brien a little bit.
I think so.
Yeah. So anyway, he said it's a good stepping stone from last week, and there's a lot of positives, and they should always be getting better week on week. But I mean, if you look at our season, well, then that's definitely not what they're doing. Do you want to go through your final analysis, James?
Yeah, so my first point, very solid start by the Knights. They had plenty of energy, obviously compared to the previous week, which showed they were mentally up for the game. That's something I couldn't question watching the game, is that they looked really invested in it. They did dip in and out a couple of times, which probably cost them close to the line. But overall, I thought they were really up for that game. Next point, 2 tries to the Melbourne side in closing minutes of the first half really hurt the Knights, and it totally did. It was like 12-6. I think it was under 3 minutes to go or around that point, and bang, bang, particularly the last try. And you go in at 18-12. Next point, open the second half with an early try to cut back Melbourne's lead to 2. It was great to see KPP back himself, which showed what a threat he can be if he uses some second phase play. So the Knights come out, they're down by 6, and he tries a nice offload, and it pays off. And we're only down by 2. And I thought, yeah, we're on here. Next point. Unfortunately, the Knights let the game slip for a period through the second half, with Melbourne scoring 3 tries. The Knights tried hard, never gave in, and gave themselves an opportunity to possibly level the match towards the end there, but they just weren't quite good enough. Final point, complete turnaround compared to the previous week's effort. They lost the game, but could take a lot from it going into the game this week. Looked way better in attack, which was a positive for me.
Yeah. Look, it's a positive, and we'll try and stay as positive as we can. There is a bit of a tone from me tonight, which is quite, unhappy. So I just think at the end of the day, when I had the idea of, getting this thing off and running, and James and I would get involved, and I wanted this podcast to be focused on the team performance, and to be, quite factual and not, just based off shit. So we just got to play what's in front of us here, and unfortunately, we just haven't aimed up this season. In terms of my analysis, I'll go through these points here. So basically, I thought the refereeing was good for 20 minutes, and then we were up against it for 60. The 5-set restarts really gave us all momentum in key moments during the match, and then there was the there was the forward pass. Let's get into it now. That was just a blatant forward pass. So you could see, I don't have the vision. He basically, you could see that when he passed, he didn't pass the ball back to start with. He passed it like maybe 22 meters out, and then he caught it probably, it was close to a 4-meter forward pass. You can see that clearly when you look at the lines, when he passed it, when he received it, and the receiving player was clearly in front of him. So there's no way that he could have passed it back. It was a forward pass, and the ref was actually right there, following it, watching it like a hawk, and he let it go. So, yeah.
What's the touchy doing?
But what's the ref doing?
They're too scared to make those calls, though, aren't they? They're always.
I don't think so.
Forward.
I think that ref had a bias towards Newcastle, and I think I think he's a very smart ref. I think he knows the moments where he can actually push his bias. Look, I'm making the call on a United podcast. What is there? There's got to be a reason why we've got a 31% winning record against this Muppet. We haven't come up against that with a ref all season, and we probably won't get this guy again many times, I reckon. Anyway, there was that, and then there was the what's the other point I've got here? That's the ref. Look, I won't get too much more into it. I just think it was, a biased performance, and I think he got away with it in clever moments in the match where he could get away with it, which is really disappointing. And it's good that O'Brien called it out. So the boys, I think we turned up the play, but I also think the Storm weren't 100% ready, and even Bellamy mentioned that in the press conference. He said that we're a bit worried because we're coming off a bye and longer turnaround, and you don't always play your best under those circumstances. So
yeah.
I don't feel like we're up against the Storm at their best, which I think probably, if you're analysing the performance properly, that played into probably some of those soft tries that they let in the second half, when Gay Guy scored in particular. And it's like, we went to Melbourne and we got beat by 8, but how good did actually Melbourne play? I think they probably had a solid 7 of a match, and they did enough to beat us. So I basically said here that you don't go to Melbourne and expect to win a match when you have 36 against you. But if you take out that try in the last minute of the second half, and if you take out the forward pass, we win. So that's how close it was. So it's a lack of concentration from us at the end of the first half, and then the referee. So that's basically what decided the match, if you break it down. And that's why I said, this is what makes the loss against the Bulldogs disappointing, and we've kind of ranted on about that, so we'll move on. And then I've got a couple of comments here, and I'm not getting off this train. Marju is a liability. Look what happened there at the end. Like, for starters, why wasn't he on the wing in the first place? He should have been on the wing? I think Hastings was on the wing. So that's where they attacked us. So I don't know why Marju wasn't on his wing to start with. And then he basically fell over when he's trying to chase them down. That was a shocker. Wasn't the only shocking thing he did in the match. He only had 2 tackle bursts all match apparently, and he ran for 115 meters. So he wasn't switched on, and I just don't think this guy's switched on. But he gets picked every week. He's been picked again this week, so don't worry, Marju. Play like shit, and you'll get picked. It's all good. I've had enough of it. I really think. Yeah, well, we'll get to Mothindriki. We'll get to Mothindriki. It's coming up. But let's go to Cogger. I think the reason O'Brien is picking Cogger is because he suits the game plan that he wants to play. That's pretty evident to me now. That's why Cogger's being picked. He's basically a distributor. He doesn't add any attacking threat. If Will Price played this game, I reckon we probably would have scored more points. I just think we scored more points with a running 6 and not just a distributor. Although our attack was better and it did work, there was no attacking threat at all from Cogger whatsoever, and his kicking game was less than impressive, and there was no variance from him or the other players that have got a kicking license. So, yeah, it's a concern to me that he continues to get picked, and I think it's cost us. I think it's cost us this year. I think the biggest mistake O'Brien's made this year is that his constant selection of Cogger in this, whether it was on the bench at the start of the year or in the starting side, or dropping players and mixing people around and just being a shambles. And guess what? You called that out at the start of the season in the preview. You said there's going to be a lot of shuffling around the halves, and that's what happened. And now I think he's being really stubborn, not wanting to play Will Price because it doesn't suit the way that he knows how to coach. Doesn't mean it's not the best thing for the team, and I think that's on his head.
I just think the whole having Cogger there and just in general, it's almost like he's had too much to choose from when it comes to the halves positions, and he's felt obliged, and particularly to use Cogger that. I mean, that whole early part of the season was a joke, wasn't it? When you think about it, it was at the time, but looking back now, it really cost us.
It did cost us, yeah. 100%. Especially we've been over it before, especially in the early parts of the season when he was being selected on the bench. I just think that was a.
What's he offering off the bench? Nothing.
No, it was terrible. Our attack was terrible. It really ruined our attack. So.
Yeah.
Not that our attack's been good, because guess what? We're running 16th in the comp on attack. It's hopeless.
Get Will Price in there. Get him in there.
Yeah, get him in there. But guess what? It's not going to happen. We've seen that O'Brien is a pretty stubborn character. But, you got to be responsible for that stubbornness. And I think that's the biggest mistake O'Brien's made this year. Yeah, and it's not just us calling it. It's the immortal Andrew Johns. It's other podcasts. It's media. There's a lot of noise around the half selection for the Knights. Anyway, I think the bottom line is it's another lost opportunity to take a win and take 2 points. Let's get to the 3-2-1, James. You can run through it.
Yeah, I got 3 points. Dylan Lucas, thought he was fantastic out of position and scored 2 tries. Just I actually could have picked Dane Gagai as well, but I opted for Dylan Lucas. Just thought he was great. He's been great all year. He's been thrown all over the place. I can't even remember the last sort of time he had a bit of a shocker or was a bit off. He always
he's been thrown onto the bench for this week. Just a bit of a tip.
But that's what I mean. Like, yeah, I mean, Frizzell was on the bench and now he's back in, and the guy, he can't take a break.
He played well. Played real well.
Yeah, you play for the Knights. You play well, you get benched. You play shit.
God,
you obviously keep your position in the starting lineup. 2 points. Dane Gagai made over 200 meters. I do remember him going into the touch when we were on the attack at a certain stage, but in general, I just thought he was fantastic. He's just such an experienced player, particularly in defense, and for an older guy, he's really having a crack this year, and he's exceeded my expectations in what I thought he'd deliver this year.
He's played great. He's been really good.
Yep. And I thought Jacob was really good. He got my 1 point. I thought he was really good particularly the first half. He was really aggressive and getting us forward. Probably the only real one in the forwards who was sort of causing a lot of damage in the middle of the ruck there and in behind to play the ball. So he got my 1 point.
Okay, look, hard to argue. I actually tossed up between him and Hastings, so I'll go from 1 to 3. Hastings got my 1. I thought Hastings controlled the game well. I think it's pretty evident now that his foot's getting better because he's kicking goals really well. I think that's the best indication, and his short kicking game is quite crafty. And I just think that any noise around Jackson Hastings not being the right halfback for this team, I think he's a quality halfback here. We could win a comp with Hastings if you put the right players around him. He's a quality halfback that can control a match pretty well, and I just wanted to give him some credit and give him a point. I thought he played really well, and he was a big reason we were in that match. Lucas, how could you not give him a couple? And Gagai, well, his stats didn't lie, and he really he did a number on who's the Melbourne player, the centre, until he got taken off. It's failing to come to me.
I'm having a mind blank myself.
Yeah. Anyway, when Meany switched with him, Meany was defending Gagai much better. Gagai was having a field day. And he was just a great performance from Gagai. And if we have a look at the Player of the Year ladder, KPP still there in front on 19, Kalen Ponga at 17, Bradman Best at 15, Dane Gagai 14, Jacob Safidi 12, Adam Elliott the Kettle on 10, Dylan Lucas on 10, Tyson Frizzell on 8. He's missed a number of games. David Armstrong on 7. He's only played four matches. And Phoenix Crossland there on 7. I give special mention to Crossland as well. His line speed's it's great. It kept us in the match actually when the going was getting tough, and I really think that makes a big difference, his line speed. And it was probably a move that I'd like to see a permanent one, although it hasn't been named that way this week. I'd like to probably see Crossland starting. He's by far a better player than Brayley. Then there's a number of players. Yeah, there's a number of players underneath 7 points there, and led by Jackson Hastings on 6. So let's get to talking points, okay? Here's an interesting one. Rising fullback David Armstrong is on the verge of a surprise backflip despite agreeing to a new deal with the Newcastle Knights just last week. Have you heard about this, James? It's only hot off the press today.
I haven't, but I noticed. I wanted to know what was going on with him. Is this because he's been dropped, or was he injured prior to this game, the Melbourne game?
They say that he's got a quad injury. I actually think that's. I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, I reckon something happened with Armstrong, and they got news of his change of mind, and I reckon they dropped him aside. Mm. Yeah, makes sense. Because I didn't see him injured in in the matches that he played, the last match that he played. So, yeah, I was last week I was thinking, is he injured? Like, it doesn't make sense he's injured. And then and now this comes out. So it does make sense. Look, we don't know for sure if that's true, and it doesn't matter. But what does matter here is that I heard a lot of talk about Armstrong. They're saying, oh, the Knights, they want to play him on the wing. Why would you want to play an 82-kilo whippet on a wing in the NRL? What were your thoughts on that? I'm actually happy about this news. Look, he's a good player, but if I had to pick between him and the young fella that played on the weekend, I'd be choosing the Cessnock kid.
The Goanna. Yeah. I mean, initially Fletcher was the one behind Kalen Ponga, wasn't he? And then because did he have injury as well in that fast tracked
that's right.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, when I saw Armstrong in the trials, he was on the wing and he looked really good. But in saying that, like you said, in this day and age in the NRL, like 30 years ago, you could be a tiny little winger and be good. But these days, you got to be making like a shitload of meters and taking a lot of hit ups. And I just don't think he's
he doesn't.
Not for that position. So
not as a long term, every week in week out winger. And I reckon he's thought, I want to stay at the club, and the Knights have got a plan for me to go into the wing, and I'll just do whatever. But then he's thought about it and thought, nah, look what I just did at fullback. I'm a fullback. He's backing himself to be a fullback. And
the Roosters were after him, weren't they?
Yeah, but Tedesco's there until the end of next year, and he's also got potentially more time there. They're trying to get an extension. That's what I've figured out. So he's probably looked at that and thought, I've got Teddy in front of me there, I've got Ponga in front of me here, and then I've got this Fletcher Sharp kid. So he's out of there. That's what's happened. You can't keep them all. And in this case, I actually think it's the right thing. I actually think it was a mistake to try and be signing him. I mean, we've signed Fletcher Sharp to a longer term deal, I think, as well. And by the looks of it, this might be a bit of a curly one. I'm thinking Fletcher Sharp at fullback and Ponga in the centres.
Whoa, that's quite a big call there.
It is, but I'm seeing a lot of class in Fletcher Sharp, and I think he's an out and out fullback, and I think so is Ponga. But I've thought at Origin level, Ponga could be quite good in the centres. That's just the thought that triggered this idea. I think Ponga could be really lethal in the centres. You give him early ball with his footwork. That'd be a way to get him in the side, and then get him away from trying to be a ball player.
And he's not a natural ball player.
Ponga, well, he's got some highlights of those long passes.
He's good,
he does. Yeah, but it would get him to focus on his running game, and I just think it would be you've got to have X factor, right? And I don't know. I'd be looking at shifting potentially Gay Guy to the wing and putting Ponga in the centres and running Sharp. Now this is for next year. I don't think it's going to happen this year. But longer term, maybe that's the way it goes. And then obviously if one of them gets injured, they can both play fullback. But, it's just a talking point. I'm not convinced on it. And I don't know if Ponga would be keen to look at that either. And maybe his defence would be a question mark in the centres. But the fact that he's pretty fast, I don't know, he could probably handle it. But I guess maybe he's a little bit too small. I don't know. I think Matt Burton's best footy's been played in the centres, and he's got, because of his footwork and his speed. And I just see Ponga being a very similar style of player in that respect. And I think he could run amok in the centres. And that could be a way to get both of them in the team because they're both classy players. So anyway, that was just some thoughts I had. But either way, so the next one we've got there is, someone, Marty on Twitter, on X, was asking Barry a question, and he said, O'Brien looking at Mothendriki anytime soon in first grade, 217 metres gained and from 19 hit-ups and 1 try, and he has been doing it for a long time and no missed tackles. Not a bad outcome, O'Brien. Come on, O'Brien, give the lad a start. That's what he's saying. And then so Barry Tui, he's pretty close to the team. He's he's been there since '88, so he's got a long history. But he is a mainstream media reporter. So look, but he's a good bloke, and he does have a pretty good take and read on this club, and so probably better than most people. But he's been pretty blunt there, and I think not looking at him anytime soon. Now that's obviously coming from the club. That's not from him. And I just thought I wanted to bring it up because I just can't believe it. I can't believe how Marju can just continue to underperform. And you go and watch the highlights in the New South Wales Cup. Look at the try that Mothendriki put on. It was a length of the field try from inside of the try line where he scooped it up and made a break, and then a sequence of passes, including Will Price backing up. And they scored a great try. I know it's a highlight and it's not the whole game, but then this guy is saying he ran 217 metres and he didn't miss tackle. So, plus, the guy's like basically physically very
target.
similar. Yeah, like same frame as Dom
Young.
I don't want to bring up his name, Dom Young. I don't get it, and this is on O'Brien as well. Team selections and why would you not be looking at him anytime soon? Like there's obviously something. It's the same as Price. Why are these two players not being looked at anytime soon? If it was me, I mentioned it last week. I'd be on my phone and my manager saying, "Get the fuck out of this place." It's just, it's real frustrating. I guess I'm feeling with the frustration that I'd have as a player right now if I wasn't being picked and I'm putting in all this effort. And I'm seeing Marju and Cogger, their performances in first grade. I'd be like, what am I going to fucking do here to get a run? Like,
but also with AOB, like if he really doesn't see much in them, then he's got to offload him, doesn't he? Like, why the hell have them if you're not going to utilize them?
If he doesn't, his eyes are painted on it. If he doesn't see, look, we're armchair couches, but look, we've got a better idea than most of the armchair couches. So look, at the end of the day, I can't get over it, man. I really can't get over it. And I think it's definitely a costly move. If we just inserted these two players into the side and built the boys do get around the guys coming into the team and look what they do it for Sharp and they did it there for Armstrong and there's a good team spirit there. If they just did the same thing around Price and Mothendriki, I think it would make a dramatic difference to our attack and overall performance.
Yeah, I can't sort of fault what you're saying there. It's just, look, some of the things that AOB comes up with or his excuses are just ridiculous to me. Like, when he got questioned in that presser a few weeks back, and he was incredibly, I thought he was disrespectful to Will Price, to say that in a public forum, like the way he did.
But this is the same thing. The comment there from Barry too, because that's kind of coming. It's been paraphrased from what the club's telling him, right? Yeah. Club's saying, don't expect to see Mothendriki. He's not part of our plans.
And if you're Mothendriki and you see that comment,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
like you're dropping your bundle. You're like, yeah.
But he hasn't dropped his bundle. He's the highlights I'm seeing is quite positive. But he's an NRL standard player potentially. And look, for all we know, if Price and Mothendriki get put in the side and they don't perform, but they deserve to be given 5 to 10 games in first grade, and given a real good chance, just like Cogger has and just like Marju has. He's had a lot of bloody chances, man. He's like a cat of 9 lives, Marju. Anyway, nothing personal, but it's just it's all performance based here at the United Podcast, and that's the way we see it. And while we're on O'Brien, let's let's go over the NRL adjusted ladder here. This one's brought to you by Reading to Play. Thanks, mate. He's a good guy. Follow him on Twitter. For he does betting tips and he does shares good news articles and stuff. And I was happy to see this today. I haven't seen anyone else come out with an adjusted ladder, and it takes me a bit of time to put it together. So this one had a little bit more detail, and I thought, okay, fuck it, let's just use it and save a bit of time because it's better than what I came up with. So. But basically the same thing, just with a few slight things in there. But if we're talking about the coach, okay, right? Let's something here that stood out to me when I woke up this morning and I saw this. We're 13th right now, okay. So rather than being, we try and look at things in a positive way, but we also, let's look at it the other way around, right? The positive is that if we won those last two matches, we'd be on 8 wins, and that gets us into basically outright 4th position right now in the ladder. Yep. So that's the positive. That's how close we are to being in the top 4, right? Now, on the flip side of that, we're on 6 wins. The Eels are on 4 wins. So that's two games the other way, right? Now, the Eels coach got sacked. And then if you go north and south another game, from 4 to 3, the Rabbits, guess what? Their coach is sacked too. So it's a fine line. It really is a fine line. And who knows where this season can go from here? I mean, it's been inconsistent, and it's for me, it's been a missed a season of missed opportunities and some frustrating team selections that have impacted performance and results. And
we all know that so O'Brien signed an extension at the end of last year off the back of the the 10 in a row, but we all know the contract in the NRL is that can change pretty quickly. So if we just have a terrible end to the season and we end up towards the bottom, he's probably out the door after this season, because if we end up down the bottom and you look at the season, it's just going to be an absolute mess.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like we're a couple of wins off the 4, but we're a couple of wins off him being sacked. So
yeah,
I mean, potentially, like the Eels coach got sacked on 4. They're on 4 wins. The Rabbits got sacked. They're on 3. We're not that far off them. We've got the 17th, 16th worst attack in the comp.
Yeah.
And you can see it there. Like the average, the for and against is minus 47. We only score 17 points on average a game, and the team below us is the Tigers on 15.6. So we're second last in attack. We concede 21 points a game, which is better than the teams below us and some of the ones above us. So our defense is a little bit better. Yeah. So look, I think overall defensively we are doing pretty well. I don't think it's a big issue, but yeah, our attack is dog shit. So, we scored 28 points against the Storm, but it was a high scoring match, and I think the Storm were a bit off. So, look, the comment there in my headline tonight is all on the line this week. And if we get to the next point, let's just quickly go into this one. The run home. So we've basically got, we beat the Titans. So when we looked at this, it was rounds 11 to 16, and we knew that there was 2 buys inside of those 4 matches. We got the Titans, we got the Chocolates, had a bye, and then it's been just downhill with a terrible performance against the Bulldogs, and then a match that we could have won against the Storm if things went our way, but they didn't. So they've failed here, and they could have, if they won those 2 matches, which were winnable matches, they could have been in 4th outright right now. As it turns out, we're now 13th. So, and we're only a couple of wins off really the bottom rung team. So it's all on the line this week. They have to win this week. They got to win.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, after the bye, after the Titans game, we were sitting in sixth spot, weren't we? We were at sixth spot.
Around about
seventh, maybe.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, sixth or seventh. Yeah, but we were right up there. Yeah.
So, and we put in that hard work to win those 4 games, get the bye, which is essentially 5 wins, and then it just feels like in 2 games, it's just been erased.
Well, then let's get to this then. So, I mean, ultimately, if we go into the pass or fail for the season, and we mentioned it last week, Peter Parr said that we're a couple of wins short for the season, right? And that was before the Bulldogs match. So I don't know. He probably thinks maybe they're a few wins short before that, and now we've lost to the Storm. And I've put a smiley face there, so that means that I think we aimed up and we performed pretty well. So you get a smiley face. But the crosses, there's 4 crosses there where we just haven't aimed up as a team, and they could have easily been wins. And I think they're the matches that Peter Parr was referring to. He referred to the one there against the Roosters, and also the one against, I think it was the Cowboys. We went down to the Cowboys by 1 when we led multiple times in that match, and we basically should have won that match. But I think it came down to unorganisation in the halves, and that's why I think we lost that match, which comes down to Cogger being named in the side. We got the game plan wrong against the Raiders, and they were overconfident. So that comes down to coaching and tactics, because they didn't, Sticky basically got them. They played a basic game plan and they smashed us. And then, the 2 losses to the Bulldogs are just look. The Bulldogs are obviously doing well. Where are the Bulldogs now? Let's have a look. So the Bulldogs are 7th, I think. 7 wins, 6 losses, and we're on 6 wins and 7 losses. But yeah, look, it's a close competition. It's super close. There's no one really standing out saying that they're going to, be the winners. Anyone can win it this year, and that's why if we could just sneak into the top 4, anyone can win it. And it's one of it's just so close between being sacked as an NRL coach or winning a grand final. And anyway, disappointing. I think overall we failed, and especially considering the way we position things here, it's really disappointing now. And look, if we lose this match, that's against the Panthers, that's 3 losses in a row going into a bye. I'm not sure who we have after the bye, and right now I don't even really care because it's all on the line this week. If we lose that match, we will be on the ladder. What are we going to be? 6 wins and 8 losses. So
it's going to be a tough game, that's for sure.
And look, it is going to be a tough game, but it's winnable because we'll get into the preview in a second. But even if you just go off what happened last year, like they came to Newcastle and we almost beat them. So they won't forget that. And the matches against the Panthers have been pretty close overall, which we'll get into in the preview. So, look, overall, just feels like a season of missed opportunity to me, and there's some frustration from some players not being selected. Just, Price and Moth and Drakey have just got a mark against their names, unfortunately, and it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. And we've got to persist with Cogger in the halves and watching Marju. It's like watching a time bomb every time the guy touches the ball. That's how I feel. Anyway, let's get on to a message here from our season sponsor. We've got a little video clip here from a video they've just made, and it tells a little bit of story about consumables, plastics in the oral care industry. Rethink your oral care and health. Say no to plastic. The global oral care industry is a significant contributor to the global plastic waste problem, with single-use plastics being a major culprit. Toothbrushes, floss picks, and packaging are amongst the prominent offenders. For example, 23 billion plastic toothbrushes a year will end up in landfills and oceans by 2025. These materials can take up to 500 years to decompose. MB Optimal Oral Care is firmly committed to eradicating plastics from every aspect of the oral care industry. Everything they do is best for you and best for the planet. Lasting change is made one choice, one person at a time. Let's eradicate plastic from our world by supporting businesses that make a difference. There you go, James. What are your thoughts on that, mate? Do you use a plastic toothbrush?
I do, actually, yeah.
Yeah?
I probably need to look into some MB Optimal Oral Care products to change my... yeah.
How's your tongue scraper going?
Loving the tongue. Yeah, I've been using it. It's been a game changer for me. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'd never used one before, and yeah, really enjoying using it. And I can see it or feel a difference. So, anyone out there thinking of using one, definitely give it a crack and check out MB Optimal Oral Care's products there.
Yeah, good stuff, James. Yeah, look, the plastic things. It's I think it's an issue for a lot of people. We don't really, a lot of time we only choose what's in front of us at the supermarket or at the pharmacy or wherever you buy your your consumable stuff like that. At Chemist Warehouse, look, the places are just full of plastic, and we consume these products, but we don't think about on the environment. It takes these things like 500 years to break down, and they end up in the ocean and really pollute the ocean, and all the microplastics actually leach back into the earth and get into our food supply and all this stuff. So it's a big problem, and it's driven by these big companies that continue to use plastic products. And there's a lot of companies out there as well that say they use recycled plastic or portions of their product are recycled, and it's what they call greenwashing. So it actually doesn't make a difference. It's just like they're basically saying that, oh yeah, we do something about this problem, but but they actually don't. So the thing I like about the MB products is that they're really making an effort to eradicate the plastic. They do it in the dental industry and dental practices across the nation. They sell their products on Chemist Warehouse online, and Chemist Warehouse have been good enough to support them in what they're doing. So tongue scraping is definitely something that they've championed, and it's something that will continue to get bigger and bigger as people realize the benefits, like you, mate. And all it takes is if you look at your bathroom and look at all the plastic you're using and disposing of, like toothbrushes and floss picks, they're the biggest offenders in oral care. So if you're using those things, jump online and get some ones that are actually going to break down into the earth. And I think the wheat straw products that they use in the cornstarch, it only takes like a year or so, or 2 years at the most, for it to actually break down and decompose and not pose a threat to the oceans or the soils and all this type of stuff. So, and the other thing too is you don't want to be sticking plastics into your mouth. It's the microplastics and stuff. It's not a great thing for the for the body. That's for sure. So anyway, support this business that does make an effort to really make a difference. And the more products that they sell, the more you're supporting the environment. So thanks, MB Optimal Oral Care, to sponsoring the Knighthood podcast. Rightio, mate. Second half of the show, injuries and suspensions. Let's whip through this. It's where we're getting into the hour and 15-minute mark of the show. So, all right, Daniel Safidi has been named this week. So I should have had a smiley face on him too. I forgot to, because Bradman Best has also been named. So we've basically, our full strength rating, if Safidi doesn't play, we're at 82%. If he does play, we're at 88%. Now that's equal to the Panthers because they're at 88%. So same as the Storm game last week, pretty much you'd say there that it's pretty even. They've got Cleary out. We've got Ponga out. Edwards is back this week, but he might be a little bit conservative, not wanting to get injured and get selected for Origin. I think that could be on the cards, as I mentioned in a previous podcast. And then Liam Martin, I think he's a 50-50. He's been named on an extended bench, so that's why I've got that little arrow there. We're not sure if he's going to do backflip off the extended bench there into the starting side. He probably will, as long as he's fit.
Yeah.
So if he plays, then they're going to be at like 92%. So yeah, they're pretty healthy, the Panthers, but there's some interesting stats that we'll get into a little bit later. There is an opportunity here for the Knights. Look, I've got this players I'm noticing. It was there last week, and I've got Jock Cogger for Price, and I've got Jock Marsden for Big Mo, and I think everyone out there, if they agree or disagree with me, would be probably that it's not an agenda. It's just we just think that's the right thing to do, and then that's our job is to have a take and make a call. So I think we're both on the same page at this stage, don't you think, James?
Yeah, look, and especially Price. For Cogger, I think he'd offer more, and he's more of an X factor. And I think you want to be causing a threat to the opposition defense. And we know that Price is a bit of an unknown, but he's
an X factor,
just an X factor. And
so
who would the opposition defense? Yeah, like who would the defense want to be up against? Will Price or Cogger? Cogger's not going to. Yeah, exactly right.
That's the best way to put it, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, that's the decision there. Marzu, I don't dislike him, or I'm not. That's probably not your word.
You've given him votes in the Player of the Year pretty consistently this year.
But he's nowhere near the player he was last year either. So his form has dropped. And I'm all for
Sorry, I'm dying over here.
You good there? Choking on a cop draw. So
I've come back a bit. This cold, this flu season's been pretty shitty for me.
But yeah, I think Moth and Drake, his body, his presence, he's a big guy, and I reckon he deserves his shot. But as Barry Tui seemed to put, probably not going to happen.
Not at this stage. Rightio.
You're good?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Rightio. So we're up against the Panthers on Sunday at Marathon Stadium. We don't say McDonald Jones here.
Marathon all the way.
Marathon all the way, man. 4:05. Bring back the hill. Don't worry about the biff. Bring back the hill.
Yeah, love the hill.
Some good memories, childhood memories on the hill. And bring back the Knights horse. Why don't they have they got the Bronco in Brisbane? Why don't they bring back the Knights horse?
What was their horse? Was it Rusty? Was it Rusty?
Maybe
or was that
it was.
The Broncos?
I don't know. I can't remember the name, but I've actually got a signed photo of the horse at my mum's place.
Who was that guy who used to remember that guy who used to drive around on a little quad bike? And he'd be dressed up in like a knight. Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't that that was the magician, Super Hubert?
No, it wasn't him. He sort of looked like him, or he had a bit.
Didn't Super Hubert go to some of the Knights games?
Oh, he was definitely involved in some of the things, I think. But
there was like you're getting the memory working here.
Because there was the horse, and then there was obviously the knight on the horse.
Yeah.
But then there was a quad guy who sort of came in, I reckon, in the maybe late 90s, from what I remember.
Yeah. What do you think of the DJing? They were saying the DJing was good in the Origin game, the women's Origin, but I don't mind it. The night semi-final, I think they were playing some music when I went to that, and that was awesome atmosphere. So, but I think they can maybe overdo the music a bit too much in a footy match. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's definitely something I've noticed. And it's, I think I'm more old school. I just like to go and watch the game, get the atmosphere from the crowd and stuff. And they've sort of tried to bring in that whenever there's a stoppage, like from the US, haven't they? Like in basketball or NFL, where there's got to have music and stuff.
It's a bit too much, I think. Anyway, we don't normally go on too much about these topics, but I just thought it was an interesting point.
It was all about the hill. Bring back the hill.
Bring back the hill. Bring back the hill, man. All right. So overall, we don't have a bad record against the Panthers. 43% win percentage versus their 49%. I think from I don't have the stadium in front of us, but the Panthers actually have a better winning rate at Newcastle than what they do at home overall, which I thought was quite interesting. Anything else there? Look, I think last year's match, what was the score? 16-15. We lost by a point. I think we scored one more try than them on that night as well. And we should have won that match. And I think they'll be referencing that match this week and saying, look, we nearly got them last year. We're a bit short. Let's get them this year. I reckon that'd be the theme. If as a coach, you'd have to probably play on that, wouldn't you? Most of the players are still the same. And yeah, look, if they aim up at home and they've got that in their minds, I give them a chance this week, the Knights. And overall, like so the previous season we got beat 42-6. So we had a bad year in 2023, didn't we? 22. And it was 38-20, and then the year before that it was 24-6. So look, we haven't won against Panthers for a long time. We got pretty close last year at home. Let's run through the teams list, James. This is 1-13 this week.
Yeah, cool. So for the Knights, we've got Fletcher Sharp retaining his spot at fullback. The wingers, Anari Tuwala and Greg Marziu. On the wings, we've got at centers, we've got Dane Gagai and Bradman Bessers coming in, which is a good thing for us. Yeah. Halves, we've got Cogger and Hastings. Front rowers, we've got Jacob Saifidi, Leo Thompson, and at hooker, we've got Jaden Brayley. Back row, Frizzell comes back into the starting lineup and with KPP and Adam Elliott at lock. And for the Panthers, we've got Dylan Edwards. So he had like that calf thing going on got out of Origin, so it must have been too bad for him to be playing. But so Dylan Edwards at fullback, great player. The wingers is Taruba and Brian To'o. Centers, we got Isaac Tongo and Paul Alamotti. And the halves, we've got Cole and Jerome Luai. Front rowers, Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris. And the hooker is, I think it's Mitch Kenny, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in the back row, we have Sorensen, Garner, and Isaiah Yeo at lock.
Okay. So, look, pretty strong side there for the Panthers. But if you look at that team compared to previous seasons, it's progressively getting weaker. No Cleary. What do you reckon? We've got some additions here. We've got Daniel Safidi on the bench as well. We'll get to that in a second. And then we've got Best. And Jacob Safidi and Best to be playing for Origin jerseys based on their form. Fletcher Sharp, first game in Newcastle as a fullback. And look, God, I can't keep going. I feel like I'm going over this too much now, but Cogger there at 6 and Marju are liabilities for mine. And I think coming up against Penrith, that makes it a bit harder for me to feel confident that they can actually win the match. Can they actually beat the Panthers? They can. The Panthers have actually played 8 matches in a row, and they're going into a bye. So maybe they're at the end of a long period, and they've also got some players potentially injured going into Origin, Edwards and Martin. So they might not be pushing themselves 100%. And we have noted here that the side's probably not as strong as it has been in previous years. So and there's no Cleary. So look, we are a kind of, it could go either way. I reckon it's 50-50 this game.
To be honest, I think Newcastle need to play out of their skins, and the Panthers have got to be down a bit because, I mean, the Penrith side to me, they're just such a strong unit. Even it doesn't matter if they're, Cleary is a huge loss, obviously, but you bring in another guy. They're like how Melbourne used to be back in the day, where it didn't matter who they brought into that system; they just do a job. They're very like the forward pack's fantastic. And whoever they bring into the back line as well seems to do a job.
Alamotti's been playing well.
Yeah,
he's a ex-Bulldogs player. So there you go.
That's right.
What you're saying is right.
Haven't seen much of Cole, to be honest.
He's pretty good.
He's
pretty good. Yeah,
I think the Panthers at this stage have definitely got the edge over the Knights.
Yeah, If I'd be feeling more, God, I got to stop saying it, but I'd be feeling more confident if we made some different selections at the 5'8" and wing position. But look, they could win this. The Knights. I've actually got a feeling that we might get this. I just think it's all. That's why my headlines are all on the line. I think we've got a side there that can beat Penrith this week. I think they're coming to Newcastle. We're coming off a couple of losses where we could, we're getting desperate now, and I think there's a real good chance that we can get Penrith this week. So yeah, I'm pretty confident.
What sort of tactics do you reckon he'll use this week? Will he go the conservative route, or will he try and get it?
I think they'll play like last week, and they'll just try and build on what they did. Yeah. They got to score points. Unless it's wet. It'll be. I don't think it is wet this week. So definitely, I think what they threw at Melbourne last week is what I think is their best footy, and it came up short last week. But we don't even know who the ref is this week. Look, there's still some things to consider, but I landed my bet last week, so we continue to make good decisions here at the Knighted Podcast, even though we lost. We backed Knights in the first half, and I feel like my decision-making process is getting pretty refined now, and I've got a good feel for it. So I'll be doing the same thing again this week. I had a good vibe about that position leading into that game after I watched the preview and everything, and I kind of took everything into consideration. So at this stage, I'm leaning. I feel like we're going to win this match. I'll say it. I do. I think we've got a good chance to win this week.
Yeah, it's a big call, and but if that's what you're going with the gut there.
You're a bit the other way. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out, who lines up for both teams, and how it goes. But I think we're a big shot this week. Let's run through the interchange and the extended bench.
Yep. So for the Knights, number 14, Phoenix Crossland. Daniel Saifidi comes in. We've got Dylan Lucas back to the bench after his great game on the weekend. Brody Jones keeps his spot at number 17. And the extended bench for the Knights is Hetherington, Croker, Will Price, Papa Lungi, and David Armstrong there at the bottom on 20 in number 22. For the Panthers, got number 14, Dane Laurie, 15, Smith, Henry at 16, Matt Eisenhuth, 17, and the extended bench for the Panthers is Somerton, Geyer. That's Maverick Geyer, isn't it?
Maverick Geyer, yeah.
Liam Martin on that bench, which could see him may possibly come into the starting lineup or onto the actual bench. And then 21 is Schneider and McLean rounding out the rest of the bench for the Panthers there.
Okay. So, look, overall, our bench is a little bit stronger with the addition there of Daniel Saifidi, and Lucas has been pushed back to the bench. Not ideal for Lucas because he, played another good game last week, and but for whatever's best for the team, maybe it is best for him. If Best is back, there you go. If Best is back in the centres, and I think actually Frizzell's more effective in the starting side. So it's the Kettle played pretty well last week. It's hard to, it's a hard decision for the coach. You could I think
Drop
they're
Elliott.
banking on they're banking on Elliott though to be the 13. That matches their style of play. So, that's this is the best. This is our grand final this week. That's how I see this. In terms of everything we've built this season, it's going to come down to this match. This match will heavily influence the rest of this season, in my opinion. If we can win this match, I just think that's why it's all on the line. It is all on the line this week. I think this is a grand final for us in our season, and we're in round 15. And if we win this, we'll build from it. And if we don't, I think the coach will be under a little bit of scrutiny. And if they don't come out of the bye and lose a couple of matches, we could be in a pretty dark place. That's the reality of it. That's where it could go north or south. It could go either way. That's why I'm saying this week it's all on the line. They've just got to find a way to win, and it'd do them a lot for their confidence going into a bye if they did that.
Yeah.
So that's the teams list. WTF,
Referee.
what the fuck is there? We don't know who the ref is. So, I don't know whether NRL.com have updated it yet. I'm going to have a quick look, actually. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, it's a long weekend at NRL headquarters. They didn't work on Monday, so they couldn't meet their deadline to name the refs for this week.
Yeah, I can't find it myself. So,
yeah, God. It's just normally
they're all on strike, aren't
they? Yeah, maybe it's at the bottom of the teams list. Normally, it's not there. So yeah, we got no idea. So WTF is in. Chance of rain is 20%. Humidity at 61%. So it should be a pretty nice day there in Nui. 23-kilometre-hour wind, which is that's a little bit breezy. Depending, I'm not sure what direction that's coming from, the south or the north. Probably at this time of year, I'd suggest that it be a southerly or a westerly, potentially a westerly. So yeah, we don't know if it's Adam G. Don't back Newcastle. That's the tip. But we'll find out, and that'll get factored into our betting decision at the end. So let's get into the final analysis. The Knights are 82% full strength rating versus the Storm at 88%. So it'll be pretty close either way, depending on the last minute changes. And then we've got Best and Safidia keen to play well because they are a chance to make the Origin side. Edwards and Martin will be hoping to get through injury free. So there's a bit to play there for the Knights guys, and there's probably a bit to lose there for the Penrith guys, which I think is an edge to us. And also, it's all building up to this match, isn't it? Coming off a couple of losses, being 13th on the ladder at home versus Penrith, where we lost only by a point last year. It's all on the line. I think both teams will be pretty close to what's been named this week, and we've been pretty spot on throughout the season in regards to that. So that's my thought at the stage on the teams. It will be pretty close, 1-17. Panthers will be wary of the Knights from last year's tight match, and I don't think they'll come in here complacent. They saw what we did against the Storm. So they won't treat us lightly. But the Knights have lost 2 in a row, and their season's slipping in 13th position on the ladder. And the Panthers have played 8 matches in a row before this upcoming bye after this match. So I reckon we get Panthers at a really good time here. If we're going to beat the Panthers, we've got once again we've got opportunity in front of us here. It's not like it's the other way around. We're not up against it here, and that's what gives me some confidence in regards to the tipping and maybe putting a bet on the Knights this week head to head, or taking a bit of insurance and maybe taking the line. So look, we'll quickly go into the season betting tally. James, you sat on the sidelines last week. The Knights lost, so if you back them head to head, you'd be down 142 for the year if you're betting $100 each match. And you'll be losing 11% of your money. If you're following my tips, you'll be on 17% profit at plus 285. My strike rate's 11 wins, 6 losses, 65%. Average winning odds $1.80. So, high performance from the Knighthood podcast betting tips. We've done that for over half the season now, so we're doing really well. If you want to make some money, definitely listen to what we've got to say in the podcast and use that to make your own decisions, or even just follow our tips and do it consistently. Because at the moment, we're offering a good return on investment, and that's what we're all about. Performance of the side and profit. Now I haven't made the slide this week for the betting. I ran out of time, but the Knights are paying $3.90 head to head at home. I think that's massive over the odds. And the Panthers the winner of $1.26. What are your thoughts, James, in terms of your final call? Do you want to hear the odds for the? I'll tell you the odds at the line for the Knights. Knights have been given a 10.5 start this week, and that's at $1.85.
It's interesting.
And then the other one is, give me a second. Knights 1-12 of $4.90. So if they win, they're probably not going to win by 13 plus, but for an extra $1, I wouldn't take it. And then you've got Knights 13 plus is $10.
Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold off until, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, okay,
leading up to the game, purely because also we don't know who the ref is either. So
we don't know who the ref is. We don't know what the final teams are. Yeah. And it gives us a bit more time to make a good decision. I mean, the only time you want to take early odds is if you're really confident and you think the odds are going to come in. But, I think that happens pretty rarely. And I'd rather sacrifice the odds as opposed to gambling on teams list and refs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll make a decision closer to the game. Yeah, I'll
wait. So tune into X. That's our final call for tonight. Is tune into YouTube. And mainly on X. We'll put the announcement on X. Sometimes I put a little short up on YouTube, but it's mainly on X. So it'll be posted 10 minutes before the start of the match, so you'll have time to bet and you know when it's going to come up there. So if you want to follow our tip straight up, or if you want to just factor that into your decision making, if you're putting a multi, look, it's not a tip, but plus 10.5 for the Knights at this stage would be, I'd be leaning towards that. I think that's a pretty fair start at the line. 10.5 points at home. But off last week's performance, we lost by 8. So I think that'd be the play for me at this stage. I might even take minus 8. If I was placing a bet right now, I'd take Knights minus 8.5. I'd reduce that slightly to get better odds, which would probably take the odds somewhere around $2. That's where I'm leaning towards at this stage.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking, I don't know, maybe this is the week that I back the Knights and I back them in and I go head to head, because $3.90, that doesn't come around very many times in the season, and I think we've got a good chance to win this week.
Yeah, I mean, when we were talking about it just before, you seem pretty like they're gonna.
Yeah, I don't know. Got a feeling.
Got a feeling, yeah.
I do. I got a feeling. I just think that we can win this game. I think the cookie is crumbling in the right direction. Regardless of some of the team selections that I don't like, O'Brien's sticking to his guns, and it's all on the line. Keep going over. It's the same. It is all on the line for O'Brien, because he's invested into this team to perform, and he continues to back the same players. And if they don't perform this week, then I think we might start seeing some changes, and maybe he's got it. Maybe he's got it in his mind to wait and see how they go through this period, these 3 games, and into the bye before he actually makes any changes. Maybe that could be how he's thinking.
I think another thing that's not overlooked, but probably hasn't been mentioned as much, is that the games we've lost for the most part have been
close.
Yeah, we've lost, but also home games. Which you got to win your home games, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, have a look at it. We've got the sheet here. Where are we?
There we go.
We'll find it in a second. Because we've got the three matches this year we've lost to top 8 sides by a total of average of 3.66 per match.
Yeah.
So that's a stat for you. And if you look at that, you want to highlight some of those results you were talking about?
Yeah. So we lost first game up, a game that we all thought the Knights would win. Nothing against the Raiders, but on paper at the start of the year, first game that was at home.
They were $1.40 favourites. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I think obviously we beat the Storm at home, beat the Dragons. We lost to the Roosters, which I think
we should have probably won that. Yeah.
Yeah. Although we've sort of
beat the Dolphins, beat the Warriors, beat the Tigers.
For some reason,
the Dolphins game was away. Sorry.
Yeah. It felt like we'd lost more home games than maybe we actually have, or maybe it was just more we lost games that we were probably expected to win.
Well, if you count it up, we won. We beat the Storm, so there's 1 win. Dragons, so the 2 from 2, and then you've got 2 wins, 1 loss because of the Roosters won. The Dolphins was an away game. 2 wins, so that's 3 wins, 1 loss with the Warriors. And then Titans was away, wasn't it? That was in Magic Round.
That was Magic Round, yeah.
3 and 2. I think we're 3 and 2 or 3 and 3.
Raiders at the top.
Yeah.
Did we count that?
Yeah. I think we're 3 and 3. 3 wins, 3 losses. Yeah. Anyway.
Worse than that.
Yeah, but we'd also expect to do a bit better than that, wouldn't we?
Ideally, you want to win all your home games.
Yeah, well, you want to win more than you lose. And, basically the second half of the season started again last week, and we lost. So we lost our first game, first round. That last week was the first game in that second half of the season, match 13 of the year out of 24, and we've lost. So if you look at it that way, it's kind of like round 2 this week. This is our second chance in the season, second half. We lost a close one there to the Cowboys. I feel maybe this is part of the reason I'm got this feeling as well, because I know the season and how it's gone so far, and I feel like everything that O'Brien's been working towards kind of comes down to this game. I'm not quite prepared to back them 100% right now. We'll see how I feel, but I'm thinking at this stage I will be backing them with a point start. But yeah, we haven't made a final decision yet, and we'll do that on Sunday. James and I, and you'll get both of our tips there on Sunday around 3:50 p.m. How's that sound?
Yep.
Rightio. So, look, I think that pretty much wraps us up, James. It's been a marathon tonight. Sorry if we seem to be going over certain things and dragging on a little bit tonight, but I think ultimately our read's pretty spot on in terms of where we're at as a club and as a side, and with our performance, and we'll say it again, it's all on the line this week, and you'll get our final betting tips on X 3:50 p.m. on Sunday, and hopefully we get up this week against Panthers and we do better than what we did last year, and hopefully that can lead us into some positive results to end the season and give us a good. I think our chances of making the top 4 now have been burnt. I think, but we still have a really good crack to make the top 8. That's where my head's at right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think I can't see us making the 4, but
we don't deserve to at this stage. I don't think, based off our first half of the season.
No, it's just been up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this week, I expect the guys to build off the back of that Melbourne game, and they were a lot better, and be in front of a big crowd at Newcastle at Marathon Stadium. Hopefully the weather's good, and hopefully the ref, once we find out, is
once we find out who the ref is,
not Adam G. So look, I expect the boys to come out and play well. But the Penrith team that they're playing are they're very professional and just a tight unit, and it's going to be a very hard game for them to win. But you never know. Yeah,
well, the good thing about this, the final word is that we know that our side's pretty talented, and when they've got, they do play pretty well against the top sides. So you think that if we lose, it might be by that. We might fall short slightly by that margin, like the 3.66 that we have been losing by against these top 8 sides. So, it should be a close one. But hopefully it's not another same story as last week, like Melbourne. We fought hard and we lost, and that becomes the narrative of, the season, where this should be a season where we, in my opinion right now, we should be sitting at outright 4th position. Minimum. We're just fallen short.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely we have.
Yeah, which is disappointing. And come on, boys, we need you to win this week.
Fire up.
So we can be a bit more fired up and positive. The last thing we want to be doing is dragging our feet through the back end of a shitty season. So let's go. Let's go, Newcastle. Let's fire up. If you've liked the content tonight, follow us on subscribe and give us a like, and follow us on YouTube. We're live every week at 7 p.m. You can also get us on Spotify and iTunes. And as we've mentioned a few times, get us on X for social media. It's the best place to find us. And to get those last-minute betting tips, 3:50 p.m. on Sunday, Arvo, guys and girls. But yeah, James, that pretty much wraps us up for the night. Any last words?
No, mate. I'm just looking forward to the footy this weekend, and hopefully we get a night's victory. And just can't wait and bring it on. Fire up, Knights! Come on,
fire up! Yep, just like the back of our t-shirts. Fire up, and let's hope we hear this team song. We haven't. If we do, I'll share it on X, and we'll be singing along with the boys. So good luck this week, Knights, Knights players, Knights fans, and up the Knights at Marathon Stadium. Let's go. Bring back the biff.
Catch you
later.
Bring back the hill.
Bring back the hill.
See you, mate.
Thanks again.
See you, mate.